Hi guys, and welcome back. In today's tutorial, I'm going to use the painting process of this daisy bouquet to discuss about backgrounds and how to paint them. Backgrounds are as important as the main subjects, as it is what sets the entire mood of the piece. If this is done cleverly, it can enhance your work by adding more dimension and harmonizing with the subject matter. Every person has their own techniques and painting styles, but I'm going to share with you 7 simple tips that can help you with background painting. Number 1, start with your background. If you are like me and find it difficult to decide on how to paint the background after finishing your flower piece, try switching it around and start working on the background first. I started with preparing the background by wetting the right side of the paper thoroughly with water, using a soft flat brush. Careful to avoid the flowers as we want to keep them dry and paper white. Give it a minute or 2 for the water to soak into the paper. Then change to a round brush and start applying the paints in. For this background, I use a mixture of different colors such as blue, greens, and yellows. The full list of materials that I use are on my Patreon. Number 2, prepare paints before painting. You can see here that I have prepped sufficient paints on my palette in advance, and this is a really important step not to skip. To achieve this dreamy background, we are using the wet on wet technique, which means that the paper needs to be wet at all times. Preparing and mixing your paints beforehand will save us a lot of time and help to work fast before the paper dries out. Apply those few colors and play around with the different hues. Once we are done with the right, repeat the same process of pre-wetting the paper and then adding on paints onto the left side of the paper. When deciding on what colors to apply and where on the paper, a tip here is to have both warm and cool colors for your background. Doing so will create depth and contrast to your piece. While doing this, try to also balance out both the warm and cool colors. You can see that I've added some neutral colors such as greys, browns, and some muted colors to help bridge between the warm and cool colors. Most importantly, don't hesitate to make adjustments based on what looks best for your specific painting. To give an extra kick into the background, you can try using the glazing technique. Here, I'm applying multiple glazes of different colors to achieve a rich and varied background. Each layer contributes to the overall color complexity, creating a visually appealing and textured background. Now we can start working on the flowers, painting in the center of the petals with yellow, and then adding in some browns to build in its shape. After that, mix in a greyish color. I just used whatever colors that is already available on my palette to create this shade, and then apply it on the petals where the shadows are. Draw in the stems. You'll want to use a brush with a really sharp and thin tip to get those fine lines. Here I'm using a liner brush. And then bring the stems down and start working on the vase. Paint in some reflections of the glass using a lighter shade of blue. For the last step, it's time to bring in some white gouache. Draw in white stems to bring back some highlights. Gouache highlights are particularly effective in bringing out the illusion of light hitting the subjects or surfaces in your painting. They help to add a sense of realism and three-dimensionality. For the grand finale, let's splatter in lots of white paints around the center of the painting. So splattering lighter colors over a darker background, this can serve as a highlight and focal point, drawing more attention to the center flower piece of the painting. You want to get different sizes of splatters to give more contrast and textures to the piece. And this is how the final painting looks. I hope you enjoyed watching this. If you'd like to paint along with me, the full tutorial is available on my Patreon. And that is all from me now. I will see you in the next video.